Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365. Hope everyone is doing very, very well. As always, we have a ton of WWE news stories to get into today. So let's start off talking about Eva Marie. Because last night on Monday Night Raw, Eva Marie made her return to WWE. The evolution of Eva Marie continues, and we got to see not only Eva Marie's return to WWE last night, but also Piper Niven, NXT UK superstar, make her debut on the main roster on WWE Monday Night Raw, even though WWE said, who is she? Who is she? Who's Piper? They didn't even say Piper Niven. They just said, who is she? Who is he? Who is she? Who is this person? Who is this person? It was just, there's so much to get into. Either way, Eva Marie made her return to Monday Night Raw on last night's show and brought WWE NXT UK superstar Piper Niven with her. Now, this wasn't much of a surprise. Of course, it's been widely reported that Piper Niven was going to be Eva Marie's muscle on the main roster. Now, WWE previously announced Eva versus Naomi in singles action for last night's show. Eva then came out on the stage with Niven and walked behind her as Niven rushed to the ring. Niven then told the confused referee to ring the bell as she would be the one competing. Niven then went on to dominate Naomi and finish her off with a Michinoku driver in the middle of the ring. After the match, Eva Marie took the microphone at ringside and announced herself as the winner, even though, of course, she never stepped foot in the ring to compete. Niven left the ring after the win and hugged Eva at ringside as the two celebrated, but Eva Marie looked a bit cringed and freaked out by it, but because she's got her muscle, I suppose. Now, Niven was not identified by the announcers. It is believed she will be giving a new ring name soon. We'll touch on that in a second. Now, there's no word yet on if Eva Marie is going to actually wrestle now that she's back, but it was previously reported that she would be used as a vehicle to get a new Raw superstar over, and it looks like Piper Niven is in line for that push. Now, as I mentioned, there's still more to come here. Fightful Select, which of course is Fightful's Patreon service, be sure to check that out and subscribe. They reported prior to the show that Niven's big Raw debut almost didn't even make it onto the show last night. While it was reported previously that it had been on the cards for a while and had been on the cards the entirety of the weekend, WWE ended up changing things up before eventually deciding to reinstate the angle. Now, Fightful Select noted that Niven was due to show up with a new ring name and persona on Raw that didn't quite come to fruition, such as the volatile nature of Monday Night Raw's planning process in that anything can change at any second, and it will. Plans that you could have for all week get changed the day of the show. Why? Because I think it's the first time Vince McMahon actually looks at the script and says, no, I don't want to do that, change it all. Now, instead of WWE referencing her established name of Piper Niven that she's used for a long time since being on the NXT UK brand, WWE opted instead to have its announcers play dumb instead, with Jimmy Smith, Corey Graves, and Byron Saxton seemingly being completely unaware of a pro wrestler who debuted for the WWE all the way back in 2017. Yes, 4 years ago. 4 years ago, Piper Niven made her debut for WWE. She's been under contract for 4 years, and yet WWE played it last night that they had no idea who she was. Who is she? Who is she? I don't know. Who is this person? Who is this person? I don't know. I don't know. Who's that person? I've never seen this person before in my life. Right? Ugh. Now, Piper Niven wasn't even mentioned by name, but the commentators playing up the mystery angle, which is obviously very bizarre considering Piper Niven has been a full-timer with WWE and a regular competitor on the NXT UK brand for several years at this point. So, what is Piper Niven's new name going to be? Well, Fightful have been told, and Sean Ross Sapp reported this, and this hasn't been confirmed, but this is a name that Fightful and Sean Ross Sapp heard, that Drew Drop, this is going to be a problem already, but the new name is Drew Drop, or Dewdrop is a name that's been thrown around. Dewdrop. Yes, Dewdrop. I mean, if I say it over and over again, maybe I'll get used to it, but oh my goodness. Drew Drop? Dewdrop? What an awful name. Just a terrible name. WWE's continuation of giving people terrible names continues. The Viking Experience. All of the names of Retribution, Mace, T-Bar, Slapjack, Reckoning. All that kind of stuff, right? And now it comes with Piper Niven as well. Dewdrop. What a terrible name. Now, first of all, I think there's lots of different ways to look into this one. I saw a lot of heats about Eva Marie's upcoming debut, or return rather, last night on Monday Night Raw. And a lot of people were upset by this. Oh, I hate Eva Marie. She can't wrestle, all that kind of stuff. I never had an issue at all. I still don't have an issue with Eva Marie returning to WWE. I don't have an issue with her being on Monday Night Raw. The fact of the matter is the reaction she has generated on social media, the heat she has on social media, is just evidence that WWE is on the right track in terms of bringing her back. I didn't have a problem with that at all. In fact, the angle last night, I didn't have a problem with it at all either. I thought it was excellent. I thought they got that spot on. I thought bringing back Eva Marie, saying that she's going to wrestle, then having someone like Piper Niven, her muscle, come in, beat the hell out of Naomi. Would rather it not be Naomi, to be honest, but her come back, beat the hell out of Naomi, win the match, and then Eva Marie says, see, I won the match, aren't I great? That's great heel work. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that at all. In fact, I think it was very well done, very well executed. I'm really happy as well to see Piper Niven getting an opportunity on the main roster. I think that's all great. I think the Eva Marie character as a heel works. I was concerned she was going to be a babyface, but she's not. She's going to be this inspirational heel kind of figure. Don't have an issue with that. Don't have an issue that she said she was going to wrestle and she didn't. Piper Niven came out, destroyed her, and then she claimed she won anyway. Don't have an issue with it at all. Love that Piper Niven's on Raw. Fine, great. I really enjoyed that. Where I have an issue with it, obviously, is who is she? Who is this person? We've never seen this person before. What? I've never seen this person before in my life. Oh, we've never seen this person before. It's like, seriously, WWE they're just insulting the audience. Would you have Walter come out on Monday Night Raw and say, who's this guy? We've never seen this guy before. God, isn't he big? Isn't he? Oh, he's impressive. We've never seen this guy before. We don't know this guy's name. When you know it's Walter, it's the same thing. That is exactly the same thing what they did to Piper Niven last night. If you had Walter come out and just said, I have no idea who this guy is, people would say, of course you do. It's Walter. We know who Walter is. We've seen him on television a bunch of times. And again, what's crazy is I said that on social media last night, and some of the reaction was, well, we've seen him on Survivor Series, and we saw him on Raw, so they would acknowledge him. Oh, sorry. I'll let WWE off the hook for that one. Oh, I didn't realize. Oh, that's great. Come on. Stop giving them way outs for stuff that's stupid. And Doudrop is a terrible name anyway. Let's just hope they don't go with it. But I don't have faith on that one. Now, I understand what people will say. Their counter-argument to this and the Piper Niven, who is she, drama, is that WWE do this all the time. And they do it all the time. That's absolutely true. The Godfather was just on the Broken Skull sessions with Steve Austin. This is a guy that played 3 distinct different characters that never acknowledged each other during the entirety of their career, right? You had the Godfather, you had Karma, then you had Papa Shango. They never really acknowledged each other, really. And WWE never really acknowledged it on terms of commentary either. And you've got people on Monday Night Raw, on SmackDown right now, on the main roster, that's happened with as well. Commander Aziz, we've never seen this guy before. Who's that guy? Commander Aziz, we've never seen this guy before. They did that at WrestleMania. He debuted at WrestleMania, Commander Aziz, right? And they went, who is that giant man? We've never seen him before, apart from when we saw him loads of times on Raw Underground the prior year, and he was Dabba Kato. Before that, he was Babatunde. We saw him loads of times, and that he debuts on, returns, shall we say, but debuts under Commander Aziz at WrestleMania. We go, who's he? We've never seen him before. Amos is the current Raw Tag Team Champion with AJ Styles. When he debuted with AJ Styles under this new character, everyone went, who is he on commentary? We've never seen this guy before, except, again, on Raw Underground when he was the bodyguard, bouncer, whatever for Shane McMahon. Retribution. They did it last year. All of these people show up as part of this faction. Who are these guys? We've never seen these guys before, apart from every Wednesday night on NXT on the USA Network. They don't call him Dominik Dijakovic. They don't call him Mia Yim. They don't call him Shane Thorne. They don't call him Dio Madden. They call him Mace, and they call him T-Bar and Slapjack and Reckoning and all this kind of stuff. They call these different names, and we've never heard of them before. They have done it before, but it doesn't make it any less insulting to the audience. You've got these brands like NXT and NXT UK, and you're telling people, watch them. By the way, it's not developmental. No, they're own separate brands. It's the 3rd and 4th brand. They're not developmental, except when they come to the main roster, there's no continuity because we pretend they never existed. So it is developmental. You can't have it both ways. This is the frustrating thing with it all. We're not having any continuity. If that's the case, fine, just acknowledge that. If you're not going to have any continuity between NXT, Raw, SmackDown, whatever, fine, but just acknowledge that that's what it is. But to be honest, in this day and age, the whole changing of characters, whatever, could have worked back in the day when there wasn't social media and people forgot and moved on or just didn't see it. But now people don't forget. The world is far, far smaller because of social media, because of the network, because of a show you promote on the network. And again, I saw this counter-argument. Well, no one knows who Piper Niven is anyway. Yes, they do. They do. They may not have back in the day when there wasn't social media and all that kind of stuff, but that's changed now. Things have changed. You have your network. You promote NXT UK on the network. You promote NXT on Monday Night Raw. What, are you going to have more people come up from NXT and say, I don't know who they are? Oh, I don't know who they are. It's just stupid. It's insulting to the audience. Now, I don't think it's the end of Piper Niven's career or anything like that. I think a bad name could certainly hurt her. Doudrop is a terrible name, and I hate that name. But I think some people have overreacted in terms of, oh, she's paired with Eva Marie, that's her career over. Frankly, it's probably quite the opposite. She's going to be in a featured position on Monday Night Raw. The attempt is to get Piper Niven over through Eva Marie. How is that a bad thing? That isn't a bad thing. Like I said, the execution of the angle last night I had no issue with. I just don't like being insulted, having my intelligence insulted by WWE. No one knows who she is anyway. Well, they do. They do. You have an entire country that does, because that's the brand over here in the UK, right? This is part of the issue, and people have acknowledged this. Triple H has acknowledged this. Why people don't really watch NXT or NXT UK, because it doesn't matter. Why get attached to these characters when they're going to change anyway? It's silly. But in terms of the execution of the angle, didn't have a problem with it, and I'm excited to see what goes forward. And look, people can hate Eva Marie, and they can hate her being a wrestler, they can hate her returning. That's called heat. And the issue is nowadays is that almost as a heel, you're not allowed to get heat anymore. You're not allowed to be disliked, because there's social media or fans, they have to actually like the heel. They can't actually hate the heel. It's a good point, isn't it? People like JBL would be dead in the water today. Dead in the water. Oh, he's boring. I don't actually like him. It's called being a heel. I don't have an issue with that at all. I have an issue of having my intelligence insulted though. Now, Samoa Joe, of course, a big story is his upcoming return to NXT. Could indeed return tonight on the USA Network on tonight's episode of NXT. While he's reportedly back after being released in mid-April due to budget cuts, we spoke about this yesterday, but we have some new details behind his return to the company, specifically the big push by Triple H to get Samoa Joe to return to the company. Now, it was reported last week that NXT officials wanted to bring Joe back to work as an in-ring talent, and he was briefly seen at the Performance Center in Orlando earlier in the week. Now, PW Insider is reporting that Joe is coming back to work exclusively with the NXT brand. Now, Joe's return to the company comes after Triple H reportedly, quote, snatched him back as soon as possible. A source noted in this PW Insider report that Triple H was not happy with Joe being let go and wanted him back in NXT instead of going to work somewhere else. Triple H was the point person responsible, of course, for bringing Joe into WWE rather in 2015, and at one point gave him a unique contract where he was able to continue working independent dates before exclusively signing with NXT eventually. Now, Joe was not backstage at TakeOver in Your House on Sunday, and there's no word yet on when he will officially make his return to the Black and Gold brand. Of course, Joe hasn't wrestled as an in-ring talent since February of 2020 due to issues with concussions, and he was working as a Raw commentator at the time of his release. It was noted, rather, that when he was at the Performance Center in recent weeks, he was not taking any bumps. Now, regarding Joe's in-ring future, it is believed while he could wrestle at some point, that is not the goal with his upcoming return, as they want Joe to focus more on non-wrestling duties. It's possible that Joe's return is related to the NXT General Manager William Regal teasing a change for the NXT brand at the end of TakeOver on Sunday. WWE is promising there will be a follow-up regarding Regal's teaser tonight on NXT. Now, Dave Meltzer, of course, noted on the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer radio show that Joe has been given a Regal-like role with NXT, and that Joe is the favorite to replace Regal if the pro wrestling legend really does step down as the general manager role on screen. Now, it's speculated by PW Insider, we could see Joe be the new general manager or some form of enforcer for Regal. So obviously, again, we spoke about this yesterday, so I don't want to follow up on it too much. What I do want to talk about, though, is the details behind it, as I mentioned, about Triple H being the driving force. Triple H has long been an admirer of Samoa Joe. I mean, this goes back several years at this point. So, Triple H has been a huge advocate for Samoa Joe in WWE, as I mentioned. He was the reason that Joe showed up in NXT in the first place. That's all because of Triple H. So it's no surprise that when he saw Samoa Joe get released earlier this year, he said, "What are we doing? What are we doing?" And frankly, he must have this all the time. We spoke about this before, and he kind of touched on it during one of the media calls he recently did. But he must feel like this all the time. You put in all of this work, building these talents up, whether it's Aleister Black, Samoa Joe, whoever. And then you see him go to the main roster, get misused, and eventually released. Lucky he doesn't have any hair anymore, because he would have pulled it out. saying the amount of time I invested into this character and now they're gone because this alleged creative team doesn't know how to work with them. It must be beyond frustrating for the man. It really must. Let's talk about Edge, though. Let's talk about SummerSlam, because reportedly we have some updates when it comes to Edge's plans for WWE in terms of his SummerSlam match. WWE's plans for WWE Hall of Famer Edge at this year's SummerSlam event have reportedly been revealed. Now, it was reported a short while ago that Edge was going to be part of SummerSlam 2021. Of course he is. He's one of the biggest stars under WWE contract right now. Despite his limited schedule and age, he was a WrestleMania main eventer this year. So, of course, Edge is going to be involved in SummerSlam this year. Now, as I mentioned, it was previously reported that the Rated R superstar would be involved, and Dave Meltzer noted that Edge could wrestle at the biggest party of the summer after it became public knowledge he would be appearing on the July 16 edition of SmackDown. Now, pro wrestling journalist and local Florida reporter John Alba has now posted a tweet sharing WWE's possible plans for the former World Heavyweight Champion at SummerSlam this year. Alba stated that Edge is penciled in for SummerSlam as of this moment, and WWE is planning on using him as a babyface on the SmackDown side of things at the biggest show of the summer. Now, this is what Alba had to say, quote, reported on the LTG podcast Patreon this week. Edge is currently penciled in for the SummerSlam card as a babyface on the SmackDown side. Seems to give credence to that. As I mentioned, this comes off the report of Dave Meltzer reporting that Edge is going to be on the July 16 episode of SmackDown in Houston, which was previously already announced. So who's he going to be going up against? Well, that wasn't reported. We don't know. And it's a difficult one to judge, actually, when you look at SmackDown, right? If you look at SmackDown right now, who is Edge going to face off against? Well, Roman Reigns looks to be busy with John Cena in terms of SmackDown for SummerSlam. Edge, I would still like to see Edge versus Seth Rollins. I think that's a possibility. There has been discussion, should Daniel Bryan re-sign with WWE, he could face off against Edge at the biggest event of the summer. Obviously, all hands are on deck. And that's the situation when it comes to SummerSlam this year. We've heard the reports. They want to make it this year's WrestleMania. Of course, they had WrestleMania, but they want to make it this year's WrestleMania in terms of having a 70,000-plus audience there in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're going to possibly have John Cena return. There's talks of Bobby Lashley facing off maybe against Brock Lesnar. There's talks of all of these big names, possibly Goldberg. Basically, every resource they're looking at, they're going to tap into. That's going to happen this year at SummerSlam. So, of course, Edge is going to compete. He's going to be a babyface on SmackDown. I would suggest Seth Rollins. I think that's a match people want to see, and people have spoken about. Obviously, there's so much history there anyway, given that Seth Rollins threatened to break Edge's neck way back in, when was that, 2014, to bring back the Authority on Monday Night Raw. You've got a ready-made story that's 7 years in the making. When Edge returned to WWE in 2020, people like Seth Rollins were names that came up as people to say, I want to see that match happen. So Edge versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, I don't know if that's a reported plan, but it's certainly something I would like to see happen at SummerSlam. Whether or not it happens, time will only tell. WWE in Saudi Arabia, I spoke about tapping into certain resources. Maybe, in terms of people like Goldberg, WWE might wait because WWE is reportedly planning to return to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia later this year. It was reported by The Wrestling Club, which is a Twitter fan page based in the Middle East that has provided coverage of previous WWE events in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, that the Saudi General Sport Authority's Ministry of Sport has decided on November for the next WWE event. Now, no specific date or venue was included with this report. Furthermore, WWE sources talking to PW Insider have noted that the early expectation within the company is that they will finally return to Saudi Arabia in the fall this year, and that no date has been locked in as of yet. WWE is expected to run at least one event in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia before the end of the year. Now, WWE was forced to nix their second 2020 event and the first 2021 event in the Kingdom, of course, due to the current global COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the Kingdom lifted some of their coronavirus restrictions back in late May, and media reports from the country note they are serious about opening back up for concerts and sporting events soon. Now, WWE has not run an event in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia since the Super Showdown 2020 event, and that was held in February 2020 in Riyadh. Now, WrestleVotes reported back in late April that multiple WWE sources were indicating that a return to Saudi Arabia was, quote, very much on the table before the end of 2021. WWE and the Saudi General Sports Authority announced in 2018 they were entering into a 10-year strategic multi-platform partnership to support the Saudi Vision 2013 initiative, which is the Kingdom's social and economic reform program. The deal called for 2 events to be held per year, but the COVID-19 pandemic forced delays in 2020 and 2021. WWE visited Saudi Arabia for the Greatest Royal Rumble and Crown Jewel in 2018, Super Showdown and Crown Jewel in 2019, and Super Showdown in 2020. So it looks like WWE is set to return to Saudi Arabia later on this year, which I guess would be expected once restrictions are being lifted. That's a very, very, very lucrative venture for WWE. They have proven at this point that the only thing that's stopping them from going there is a pandemic, a global pandemic. So that's the only reason that would stop them going there. So I would be stunned if they don't have at least one event later this year. Probably it's going to look like it's going to be Crown Jewel in that November, late October time slot. I mentioned people like Goldberg and stuff like that. Of course, they have 2 dates. He has two dates per year on his contract, 2 matches rather, per year on his contract. We've seen one already with the Royal Rumble earlier this year with Drew McIntyre. It's going to be interesting now with WWE knowing that they're probably going to go back to Saudi later on this year. Do they hold off saying, actually, we won't use him for SummerSlam, we'll use him for later this year when we return to Saudi Arabia? Time will only tell, but it looks like the Saudi events are going to be returning later this year. Alexa Bliss and Reginald. Alexa Bliss has revealed her plans for Reginald after their weird face-off this past week on Monday Night Raw. Alexa Bliss plans to put Reginald in timeout after interfering with her match with Nia Jax on last night's edition of Raw. Now, this was so weird. During a match basically last night on Raw, it was Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax. Alexa Bliss had the match won seemingly. Reginald comes in, ends up in a disqualification as he pulls Alexa Bliss off of Nia Jax. And then they had this weird stare-off where it was kind of hypnotized like this. It was awful. It was awful. Now, Bliss appeared on Raw Talk to address what she has plans to do with Reginald. She said, quote, Reginald needs to be put in a timeout like Lily. When you do something wrong, you must be punished. Lily did something wrong to Shayna Baszler, and that's why she's in timeout. When asked how Lily was feeling after being in timeout, Bliss said, quote, to be honest with you, you can't really hurt Lily, but you know, some people make mistakes. She never liked Shayna, but she always loved Reginald due to his Cirque du Soleil background. We always found him entertaining. There are certain people she likes and others she doesn't. I'm going to be totally honest. First of all, I've mentioned this before, I don't understand someone in WWE on that creative team, considering the amount of attention this guy gets. It's got to be Vince McMahon or Bruce Pritchard, I'm assuming there, but someone on the creative team high up in WWE has a bizarre fascination with Reginald. I don't know what it is, but the guy is more used than any other female talent in the women's division. I mean, look at the feuds he's had this year in WWE. It's Carmella, Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler, Alexa Bliss. The list goes on and on of Reginald being involved in women's division matches. Someone has an obsession with this guy. I must be missing something. Because I really don't get it. The biggest star of your women's division, spearheading the women's evolution in WWE, is a man called Reginald. Oh, isn't that great? And this whole weird thing last night with Lily the doll chasing Shayna Baszler and now Alexa Bliss doing this weird hypnotizing stuff with Reginald, enough. You know, I'm tapped out. I made my decision last night. I'm tapped out of it. The whole Firefly Funhouse stuff, it was enjoyable for a while. Even when Bray Wyatt comes back, I don't want to see it anymore. It's tapped out, and I feel so bad for Bray Wyatt at this point. I feel so bad for this guy because he reinvented himself twice and came up with these unique, original, creative characters, and they have just been driven into the ground that I just don't care to see it ever again. And when Bray Wyatt comes back, I'm happy to see The Fiend, but the whole Firefly Funhouse stuff, the children's TV character, the weird dichotomous personality, I'm done with it. And I'm done with it when it comes to Alexa Bliss as well. I'm done with Alexa's playground. I'm done with the doll. I'm done with the weird, she's got superpowers and she's this crazy woman. I'm done with it. Because I'm tapped out of it. I'm tired of it at this point. I am so tired of it, and it's done. Something else, please. Because I was watching this last night on Raw. I went, you know what? I'm tired of it. I'm finished with it. It's boring at this point, and I just can't get invested. And I don't know what the thing is with Reginald. I really don't. There is this weird obsession with the guy, and you know, whoever is obsessed with this guy, they probably need to get some help because I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. Speaking of Alexa Bliss, her match with Shayna Baszler this coming Sunday at Hell in a Cell has been confirmed. Now, this was revealed during the opening segment of Monday Night Raw. Nia Jax revealed that she will be facing, Alexa Bliss will be facing Shayna Baszler this coming Sunday at Hell in a Cell. This is, of course, after Lily attacked Shayna Baszler last week. Yes, a stuffed doll. Lily or neither Shayna or Lily, either one of them, I mean, I kind of feel weird still talking about Lily like she's an actual real thing, because she's not. But neither one of them was on Raw last night. Probably a good thing. Just the quicker this can get over, the better. Again, I'm so over it. I'm just so over it. I just could not care less about it anymore. The match Sunday obviously is going to have a ton of bells and whistles, and maybe at least the return of Bray Wyatt. But why would you want to return to this? Seriously. At this point, I want Bray Wyatt to come back and just be involved in something completely different. You know, I like the Fiend character. That's still got legs. I don't think there's an issue there. But the Firefly Funhouse thing, it's over. It's over. It's jumped the shark, as they would say. It's done. It's done. And I don't blame Alexa Bliss. I blame the writing. I blame the hokiness. And I was never huge on like the Undertaker supernatural stuff, but you accept it. And there's a time and a place for it. But it's done. It's done. And the crowd, when they return, they're not going to buy into it. They're going to boo this stuff. And maybe it's just a case of getting it out of the way before crowds return, because they're not having it. They are just not going to have it. They're really not. Lana. Now, of course, Lana was one of the names released by WWE a couple of weeks ago, but Lana is now reportedly preparing to, quote, spill the tea on her time with WWE. Now, the former WWE superstar took to Instagram this week and talked about how she has a lot to say following her WWE departure. She noted that she can now be the face she wants to be and is looking forward to standing up for the truth and for people who have been exploited. She said her WWE release came as a big shock, and while she has a lot of tea to share with fans, she's also extremely grateful for the things she experienced while with WWE. She's also looking forward to speaking out after being, quote, silenced for years. Lana also said she has a lot of unsettled business and does not want to give up on pro wrestling because she loves it too much. She said she cried about it a lot, as she doesn't want to be a billionaire, one such as WWE Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon or anyone else determine her destiny. Now, regarding her WWE release, she said she cried when she got the call, while her husband, current AEW TNT champion Miro, did cartwheels when he was released last year. She captioned the main video where she talked to fans while sitting on the beach with, quote, I just wanted to say I love you guys. I can't wait to spill the tea because it's hot and delicious. I look forward to standing up and speaking out on the things that I've been silent about. Also excited to talk about Miro and that he is the AEW TNT champion, and then talks about subscribing to our YouTube channel. So as far as what this means, who knows? Who knows what this actually means? I'm sure people probably have taken it quite a lot out of context, and one's mind goes straight into salaciousness, doesn't it, when they say, oh, I'm going to spill the tea and I've been silenced for years. Who knows what it will be? Who knows what it will be? I don't think it's fair to speculate. Time will only tell. And I guess Lana has a story to tell, and she's going to tell it. So good for her. So we'll have to wait and see what she has to say. We spoke about the SmackDown ratings yesterday. I do want to talk about this briefly because Friday's live edition of SmackDown, featuring the SmackDown Tag Team Champions Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio brawling with Universal Champion Roman Reigns in the main event segment, drew an average of 1.944 million viewers on Fox. This is according to Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics. The final number is up 4.91% from the overnight viewership that was released Saturday morning, which was an average of 1.853 million viewers. This number is also up 3.24% from last week's final viewership of 1.883 million viewers on Fox. Friday's edition of SmackDown drew a 0.48 rating in the key 18 to 49 demographic. This is down 4% from the 0.50 key demo rating that last week's show drew. Now, SmackDown's audience on Friday drew the best audience for the Blue brand since May 7. The show was up 3.24% from last week's final viewership, while the key demo rating was down 4% from last week. So there you go, SmackDown up slightly with the best number it's done since May. Still, again, we're still under that 2 million mark, and I don't think Fox will be thrilled about that, as SmackDown, as WWE, and as everyone that you hear talking about this at the moment keeps saying, wait until July. Wait until July. Wait until we go back on the road. Wait until we have live crowds. Wait until SummerSlam. We're waiting. And I don't know if we're going to see that massive much of an uptake, because we'll be waiting forever. We'll be waiting forever. Finally, could a former MLW star be heading to WWE? Well, Selena De La Renta was at the Performance Center yesterday. The former MLW star was reportedly training at the Performance Center, according to Fightful Select. Now, there's no word yet on if she'll be training in the ring, participating in promo class, or something else. It's believed that WWE has offered Selena a contract, or at least they're planning to. The company has had interest in signing Selena for some time now, going back a few years. It was reported last week by the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Selena is set to close her merchandise store at the end of the month, a possible sign that she was indeed headed to WWE or another company that would not allow her to sell her own merchandise independently. Now, Selena confirmed her MLW departure back in early May after working for the company for the past few years, following a run on the independent scene as an in-ring talent and personality. Now, in 2019, she became the first Latina to produce pro wrestling on American TV with MLW Fusion. At the time of her MLW departure, she asked fans on Twitter where they wanted to see her end up, as she expressed an interest in joining WWE. I'm a big fan of her talents. I was, like many people, were saying that she should have gone to AEW, and I hoped that AEW was going to sign her. The only reason I was saying that is because I wanted her to be the manager for Andrade. But unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be Vicky Guerrero. So it's a big get for WWE if they do indeed sign her. And I think she'll be a big addition to the NXT brand. And who knows, eventually on the main roster as well. But look, guys, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all of these WWE news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community. Drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube, gut the rankings, and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to WrestleNews 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.